Hey, New York. It's time for New York sports talk the way it ought to be. It's the Big Apple Sports Podcast, starring Peter Weintraub and Evan Freeman.
Welcome, everybody, to the Big Apple Sports Podcast. I'm Evan Freeman.
And I'm Pete Weintraub.
And today we are going to go Jets, Giants, Rangers, Islanders, and then Scumbag and Sports. So starting off with the Giants game last night, losing 24-10 to the Detroit Lions. I didn't get to watch the game because I was at the Ranger game, but they did not look good at all.
No. I mean, Eli Manning got sacked 5 times. They couldn't establish the run game, which we established in the preseason. When you don't have a line, you cannot run, and you cannot protect the quarterback. Neither of those things happened. Odell returned, 4 catches, 36 yards, no touchdowns. And all the throws, as you suggested on our last podcast, were quick throws that he turned nothing into 5 yards. So they looked terrible second game in a row. Eric Flowers is an embarrassment, and they can't put him there anymore. But they don't have anyone to put in his place. So Giants and Jets both are off to 0-2 starts. And I think the Giants can potentially remedy the ship because they have enough talent on both sides of the ball. The Jets, who we'll get to in a minute, are just fucked. But yeah, it wasn't a good showing.
Yeah, and I really don't think the Giants are going to have a great season now based on what I'm seeing from them. Mostly because I don't know if you can fix this offensive line.
Yeah.
If you look at it right now, there's really no one out there to go and get. And this offensive line just might not have enough talent. Now, it might be, a communications issue. It might just be they need more practice time. But this is after a full offseason of these guys being together, and they look like they've never stepped on the field together. It's embarrassing for them. It must be very painful for Giants fans to watch because you have Eli's still probably, a top 10, 15 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, he's above average.
Yeah. He's definitely above middle of the road still. And if you give him a good offensive line, I think he's a top 10 quarterback.
Sure.
You went out and you got Brandon Marshall. You went out and you drafted, what's his name? Evan the tight end. I forgot his name just now. That was bad. Yeah. You went out and drafted a tight end who looked really good last night. Eli had a really nice throw to him down the middle of the field. But, we said this a million times before. If you don't give your quarterback time to throw, if you can't protect him and provide him with the run game, it doesn't really matter who you have back there unless they're Aaron Rodgers. Because he seems to be the only person who, with no run game and no protection, can still be amazing.
Well, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is great on the run. I think last year, the year before, they showed his throw accuracy on the run is actually a little better than his throw accuracy in the pocket. So obviously, he's a guy who doesn't need a lot in front of him. But if you look at any legitimate quarterback in this league, even a top 5 guy, when Tom Brady doesn't get protection, he is ineffective. And you looked at that week 1, he was incredibly ineffective. The line did not hold up week 1 for the Patriots, and Brady did not play well at all. Obviously, this past week, he came back with a vengeance, which my fantasy team appreciated. But yeah, no quarterback in this league can do well, especially in a pocket passing league, especially when you're as immobile as Eli Manning if you don't have a line. If you don't have a run game to change things up, and if he's only throwing to one guy, Odell Beckham, they know who to cover. And even though Odell is really explosive, they said he's like 80% on his ankle. And we talked about that too. I don't know why they're playing him now. I mean, they looked terrible week 1, so I guess, more onus to get him out there week 2. But we even said in the preseason, even if he misses the first quarter of the season, let's say he misses the first 4 games to make sure that ankle's 100%, maybe one of those catches, instead of being, a 7 to 10 yard gain, ends up being a 25 or 30 yard gain and changes the momentum, and maybe the line will pick up some of the slack. But it's also precarious. If he gets hurt, then I don't even know if they score 10 points. And then I don't know whose offense is more anemic, the Jets or the Giants.
Yeah, because that's what it comes down to again is, he's 80%, he's not as effective. But 80%, you still have a very high risk of re-injuring that ankle. Mm-hmm. And they can't afford for him to get hurt again. And then instead of missing weeks 1 through 3 or 4, missing weeks 5 through 10.
Yeah, or more. Maybe he misses the rest of the season.
He could miss the next year and a half if it's bad enough. Probably not, but if he really, really hurts himself, he could never be the same player ever again.
Sure.
So I don't understand why he was playing at 80%. And it just baffles me. And I understand, listen, you don't want to start 0-2, but now he just played at 80% and you're still 0-2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
he had no impact on the game. He didn't really contribute, and perhaps he wasn't able to contribute. But yeah, it wasn't a good showing. It certainly wasn't a good showing. The Lions definitely looked like the better team, but Matthew Stafford, another guy who can play very well. I mean, granted, he has a much better offensive line in front of him than Eli does, but Stafford so far has been the best fantasy quarterback in the NFL through 2 games. So he's been solid as well.
All right. Moving on to the Jets. Another horrible game, losing 45-20 against the Raiders. Now, we knew they were going to lose.
Yeah.
And we knew they were going to lose pretty badly.
Yeah.
But I didn't think they were going to give up 45 points to the Raiders, especially the way that this was given up.
Yeah, 185 yards on the ground.
To a bunch of different running backs.
Cordero Patterson.
Yeah, it's like Marshawn Lynch came in and was just like, oh, I'm just going to take over and destroy them.
He didn't even have a good game.
It was 3 different running backs that just completely tore them apart.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch had he had a scoring touchdown run, but he only rushed for, 45 yards or something like that. Cordero Patterson, I think he had a 45-yard run on just one play. And he's usually a special teams guy, a kick returner. That's pretty much his position and has been since 2014. But, yeah, it was a terrible showing by the defense. A team that's supposed to have a great run-stopping front has now given up close to 200 yards in their first 2 games of the year. And you can say, well, Shady McCoy and Marshawn Lynch, but like you just said, Marshawn Lynch wasn't the catalyst on the ground in this game. And we knew it was going to be a blowout. It sucked because through about 3 quarters, it looked like it was going to be close. But, of course, the Jets showed what they were. And Josh McCown, again, he didn't turn the ball over. But, again, can't throw downfield, didn't throw downfield, got lucky on a couple of check down passes or passes over the middle. But if you're not going to throw downfield and take chances, you're not going to win. I know they don't have a lot of talent, but you're not going to win.
Yeah, well, once again, Jermaine Kearse was the leading wide receiver, as we knew he would be. And it's just there's nothing on this team offensively.
Nothing.
There really isn't. And
literally nothing.
Very soon it has to be the point in time where you're going to pull the plug on Josh McCown.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to draft one of these quarterbacks, you might as well see what you have. If you're going to lose, you might as well give Hackenberg and Petty time to play during the regular season.
Yeah.
Because you're losing anyway. You don't want to accidentally win a game with Josh McCown. I'd rather accidentally win 5 games with Christian Hackenberg or Bryce Petty than to win with Josh McCown, because Josh McCown is not the quarterback of the future.
No, it's not even going to be here next year.
Yeah.
He may not even be here by the end of this year.
Yeah, no, if Bryce Petty comes in and for some reason stays healthy and has a miracle season, and Jets win 7 games with him, you could be like, you know what? This guy's a pretty decent quarterback. Maybe you move him, maybe you keep him as a backup, but at least you see what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Josh McCown for going forward doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, at this point, it makes absolutely no sense. You looked at the defense. I mean, we didn't think it was particularly good in the preseason, and it's showing that. Unfortunately, it's also showing that an area that we thought was going to be good, at least their run defense, has been terrible. I know it's only 2 games. Sure, they can clean that up potentially if it's just a mechanical thing, missed assignments, what have you. But, yeah, it's not looking good. They never had a secondary to begin with. Claiborne, he had a bad penalty that cost them a touchdown later in the game. Maybe it was just out of frustration. I could imagine why. But, yeah, I agree with you. At this point, with how inept they've looked, it doesn't hurt. One thing I did see today, though, that popped up on my phone while I was driving earlier, and, of course, don't text and drive, but I saw a notification that there was a report that made its way to the press, which means somebody in the Jets organization wanted it to be leaked, that Hackenberg still is nowhere close to stepping on the NFL field, meaning that when and if they make the change, which now we both advocate, it could hopefully happen as soon as next week. What's the point of putting us through this? If we're going to have an ineffective quarterback, have a young ineffective quarterback, not a 38-year-old journeyman when a young guy can do the same thing. Or like you said, maybe he catches fire, gains some momentum. You don't know. So I'd rather see one of those guys, but unfortunately it doesn't look like Hackenberg's going to be that guy. It's probably going to go to Petty. The only question is, when is that going to happen? Hopefully sooner than later.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
All right.
But
so
they're the Jets, so it's probably
the Jets. They're just going to be awful.
I just got your
Absolutely
emails,
awful.
by the way, all in one shot. Fucking weird.
100% blame you, and I will never blame Gmail for anything.
Well, even though, we won't get into Google and their issues. Anyway, all right. So moving on to Rangers Islanders. So you were there at the Garden last night. What did you see? Obviously, I'm sure you had fun, but how was it? And what did you see in both teams?
All right, I saw a lot of good stuff, decent amount of sloppy play, but it's a lot of young guys. So it's the first preseason game. It's mostly young guys trying to make the team out of training camp. So a lot of guys whose names you're never going to hear again.
Yes.
But two guys who I think you will hear again are Neil Pionk and Elias Anderson. So Elias Anderson was the seventh overall pick by the Rangers this year. Centerman from Sweden, his dad and his uncle both played in the NHL, so he has an NHL pedigree. He looked pretty good. Now, while the score was 1-0, and he did not score the game-winning goal, so he didn't put anything in the net, he looked very comfortable out there. He was looking to make plays. He was moving the puck well. But most importantly, he was winning a ton of faceoffs.
Yes.
The Rangers at some point in the game had won 75% of the faceoffs. I think it was somewhere like the beginning of the third period, yeah. They were killing them in the faceoff circle.
Mm-hmm.
And Neil Pionk, who did score the game-winning goal with a little spin move and going in between the glove of the goaltender, he played very well defensively. The Rangers limited the Islanders. Going into the third period, the Islanders had about 7 to 10 shots on goal.
Mm-hmm.
So the Rangers played very well defensively. The Islanders did not play well offensively, despite the Rangers taking over 7 penalties in this game.
Wow.
Now, yeah, there were a lot of calls, a lot of little chippy stuff, but apparently this is the way the NHL is going. They're really cracking down on the slashing and the boarding and the holding, some of which was very, very borderline. But other than that, the Rangers played very well. They moved the puck well. They moved the puck well on the power play. The only reason why it was 1-0 is because Yaroslav Halak played great last night. And he really came out. You know, it's a lot of young guys, but he came out and he played very well, even though the Islanders did not play well in front of him at all.
Well, it's a good sign for them, and hopefully,
it's not a great sign for them.
Well, it's a good sign that their goalie played well. That's been an issue in the past couple of years, just picking a fucking goalie and sticking with him. Halak's obviously an established guy, so hopefully, is that their plan going forward from the goaltender position? Is he the guy?
They haven't made any announcements yet, and the Rangers still haven't announced their backup goalie. Both Andrei Pavlik and Brian Halverson played last night. Neither one of them is tested very much, as you can tell, when the Rangers outshot them 2-1. The Rangers with 41 shots.
Jesus.
But yeah, there was very, very few scoring chances for the Islanders until even the third period. And they just really looked overmatched. And yes, these are not the teams that are going into the regular season, but you did have regular guys playing. Johnny Boychuk was playing. Josh Ho-Sang was playing. Josh Ho-Sang looked terrible. He did absolutely nothing. So all Islander fans who think that this guy is the next coming of, John Tavares, he's not it. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future.
When Tavares is on the Rangers.
When Tavares is on the Rangers. But Josh Ho-Sang still, from what I've seen, has a lot of work to do to become a top player in the NHL, if he can even do that. But really what it was is I saw a lot of good stuff out of the Rangers, solid defensive play, solid puck movement, and just, solid goaltending when you face 10 shots really isn't, anything. But the Islanders did try to start pouring it on towards the end of the game. They did get their shot total up to about 20. But honestly, they really just looked overmatched. And they did play the night before. So it's not like, okay, this is a fresh team. The Rangers were a fresh team. But it really was it looked like men against boys out there. And
which is how you like to see it.
Of course.
Yeah. So good. So obviously some key takeaways, some young players in the Rangers looking pretty good. Islanders, you could call it fatigue. It was that was their second preseason game right after playing back.
Yeah, it's only the second preseason game. You didn't see what you wanted to see out of certain guys on the Islanders. If you're an Islanders fan, I saw exactly what I wanted to see.
Buck Clutter.
Oh, you mean Clusterfuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, Clusterfuck played.
He has the funniest name in sports. I don't care what anybody says.
Ridiculous.
Buck Clutter. Clutterbuck. They had the game at Nest Coliseum over the weekend, so there were a bunch of people in the area who are wearing Islanders jerseys, and there were a bunch wearing Clutterbuck ones, and I was very tempted to shout it out in Chipotle while I was there, but I decided not.
You should have. That would have been amazing.
Buck Clutter!
And then when they go, what the hell are you doing? You go, listen to my podcast.
Listen to my podcast, and you'll be one of 10 people.
Exactly.
Anyway, all right. So we're going to go over a couple of plugs, and then we'll get into the scumbag in sports. So first plug, Weight Loss by Pete. If you're looking to lose weight in a healthy, sustainable, and permanent way, check me out, weightlossbypete.com. I actually have a 4-week jumpstart program. I'm going to be renting out a venue on Long Island. It's 4 weeks, so obviously one meeting a week. And we're going to go over different things, nutrition, fitness, mindset, and a wrap-up at the end to answer any and all of your questions. To pre-reserve your seat now, go to weightlossbypete.com/4-week jumpstart for the number 4-week jumpstart today. Evan, you are on Hub Pages, and have you written an article since the one about the Rangers?
Yes, so I did write, which now looks terrible. It was keys to the Giants making a run at the Super Bowl. It's only 0-2, so it's not over yet, but It is a very good article. It does it more breaks down the team into the pieces that need to succeed in order for the Giants to have a successful season, regardless of Super Bowl or playoffs or whatever it is. It's more in-depth look at their weaknesses and how they need to turn them into strengths in order to not be basically what the Jets are going to be this year.
Yes. And so far, you can't really tell much of a difference between the two teams on either side of the ball, which is, well, the Giants have a better defense still, but still, both are just as inept as the other right now offensively. But I'm sure the Giants have a lot more upside than the Jets, as evidenced by their talent on that side of the ball. Anyway, our scumbag in sports is
Jemele Hill and ESPN.
Yeah.
Because Jemele Hill decided that without any proper information, she was just going to go on Twitter and call Donald Trump a white supremacist, which I don't care if you don't like him. I don't particularly like him either. Yeah. He is not a white supremacist.
I've never seen him say
helps out very much in the minority communities. He hires a vast majority of minorities and women. So it's completely off base. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It's all to get little retweets and little followers because she's a little piece of shit. She's a garbage TV host anyway. Yeah. So it's all for attention. It's all garbage. She's trying to take advantage of the political climate right now. And the popular thing to do is to call white people white supremacists. And it's ridiculous. It's all completely off base. You can call him a douchebag. You can call him,
if you disagree with his policies or what he's looking to do, that's fine. Yeah.
But he is in no way is Donald Trump a white supremacist. I'm sorry. And if you think that, then you really don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. I think he's a douchebag, but he's definitely not a white supremacist.
Yeah, and for a network too. And the reason that Evan also mentioned ESPN and not just Jemele Hill, obviously she went kind of nuts. Of course, the legal team there probably told her you now need to tweet out an apology and say, oh, my remarks were in no way, shape, or form in association with ESPN or ESPN's beliefs, which is a load of shit because how many people have they fired in the last year that were analysts and much better analysts because they were former professional athletes and didn't make excuses. Who did they fire? I mean, obviously they fired Kurt Schilling, and you can argue about that one, but Mike Ditka, who was –
Kurt Schilling went a little over the line.
He went over the line. But Mike Ditka, Shannon Sharp, I believe, or was it what's his name? The other one, Chris Carter, the two wide receivers that they let go are now with NFL Network. It's disgraceful what they're trying to do. There's a reason they're losing ratings. We talked about this last time. And they didn't fire – not only did they not fire Jemele Hill or suspend her, they even suspended Linda Cohn recently for remarks she made on the Dan Patrick Show about the state of ESPN. But they also let her go on air later that night. They looked into finding replacements for her on the show, but then because it's him and hers and Michael Smith refused to not do the show unless it was her who did the show with him, they let them do the show anyway.
But he's another one who's garbage too. He's another one who talks shit. He talks about political shit that he doesn't know about. Yeah. And it's all based – what they do is they go on CNN, they look at the headline, and they go, okay, let's just bring this up. Yeah. And this is all the information that there is. Yeah. And I have to always tell people, listen, if you really want to learn about politics, don't do it here because we talk about sports. But what you have to do is you have to watch the network that is against your actual belief system. Yeah. So if you agree with CNN, you should be watching Fox News to get the full picture because it's always somewhere in the middle. Yeah. If you only listen to people who agree with you, which is why I hope Islander fans listen to me because I don't agree with them at all because they're all scumbags. Not all. Most of them.
Well, that's not going to get them to listen to you at all, is it?
3 out of 4 Islander fans are just useless. And there's only 4 of them, so that makes one useful Islander fan. But you have to look at other sides of things. And if you don't look at the other side and get the actual information, then you're a complete waste of space. And that's what they do. That's why I can't stand what ESPN has become, because it's become this political network, and it's basically an extension of CNN. Yeah. And I don't want that. I want sports. I don't want politics. Give me sports.
Yeah, and that's been the main issue. And many of their most successful anchors and analysts have either been fired or suspended for much lesser political statements that they made, except for Curt Schilling, who, like we said, went over the line. I just liked Curt Schilling's analysis. Not in that case, but about baseball. Anyway, all right. So you can check us out on social media, YouTube. We have our own channel, iTunes, Big Apple Sports Podcast, Facebook, facebook.com/Big Apple Sports Podcast. Instagram, our handle is Big Apple Sports Podcast. Those assholes on Twitter, it's NY Big Apple Sport. For that, I am Pete Weintraub.
I'm Evan Freeman.
And we'll talk to you guys next time. Have a good one.